Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and as you know, I'm a massive Star Wars fan. Which of course means I'm a massive Star Wars hater. I mean, you really can't have one without the other in the modern day. And of course, when it comes to hating Star Wars, I mostly hate on Disney. Not to say that there was not bad Star Wars pre-Disney, there absolutely was. In fact, my least favorite Star Wars movie of all time is a prequel, Attack of the Clones. Believe it or not, I will take any of the sequel movies before Attack of the Clones, but they're all garbage, so really I wouldn't take any of them. Point is, the Star Wars and I have a tumultuous relationship, despite the fact that I'm a massive fan. And part of that tumultuous relationship is the Obi Wan Kenobi show, which Ewan McGregor is making Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2 inevitable. I have some issues with this. I have some massive issues with this, because the Obi Wan Kenobi show was practically cancer. At least after watching it, people would assume I had cancer because I stopped eating for long periods of time and pulled all my hair out, so people thought I was going through chemotherapy. An Obi Wan Kenobi show could have been great, but we all had this sneaking suspicion it wasn't going to be for a lot of obvious reasons. Well, now we're possibly getting a Season 2. While not confirmed by Lucasfilm, let's go through this article and see what it has to say. A future Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2 is creeping closer thanks to none other than Ewan McGregor himself. Premiering as one of 2022's roster of Star Wars TV shows on Disney+, Obi Wan Kenobi arrived laden with hype and anticipation. Not only did the series mark Ewan McGregor's long-awaited return to the Star Wars franchise, but he was joined by Hayden Christensen in the dual role of Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. Yeah, barely. Wasn't it announced that it was mostly a body double, a stuntman, almost the entire time in the suit, minus when the face broke and then that flashback where they, oddly enough, didn't really de-age him. I won't lie, that was one of the few parts of the show I enjoyed. I loved seeing Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor back on screen together. I think they really do have great chemistry. It was just a weird technical choice. But anyway, reuniting the prequel trilogy pair. Despite high expectations, or perhaps because of them, Obi-Wan Kenobi met a less than enthusiastic response than fellow Star Wars Disney Plus releases such as The Mandalorian and Andor. Well, yeah, you picked those two because those are the only good Star Wars, at least live-action, Disney Plus releases. I mean, even it's debatable if Mandalorian Season 2 is any good. The first season, I'll say, is, yeah, it's pretty good. Season 2 was okay at best. Of course, we all know Book of Boba Fett was... Oh, I shudder to even recant that to you guys. Obi-Wan was garbage. The Bad Batch, I know it's not live-action, but I'll throw it in there. Does anyone care? Clone Wars Season 7? The last 4 episodes were magnificent. Perfection. The 8 episodes that led up to it, At the time of writing, Lucasfilm has offered no details regarding a potential Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2. Kenobi's inner trilogy solo story ended with the Jedi Hermit back on Tatooine having seen off the Inquisitors, saying a friendly hello there to young Luke Skywalker, and reuniting a pale Qui-Gon Jinn. Every element is in place ready for Obi-Wan's return in Star Wars' original trilogy. Nevertheless, Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 can still happen. With plenty of years still separating Season 1's ending and the crash landing of R2-D2 and C-3PO, indeed, Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 is slowly becoming inevitable. But here's the thing. It shouldn't be. Not only should it not be inevitable, it shouldn't happen at all. Look, there's already so many canonical errors and plot holes to jump through and have to really work your way around to explain, and it really shouldn't be that difficult. When you start adding even more stories, even more, oh, well, this also happened to Obi-Wan between episodes, 3 and 4. Like, you're just creating more issues, more manholes for you to have to leap over writing-wise. I'm not opposed to Disney Star Wars. Believe it or not, they've done some good things. Very few, but they've done them nonetheless. I'm currently replaying through Jedi Fallen Order, and I love the game. I've forgotten how much I love the game. It's a great story, especially by Disney standards. It doesn't have the woke ideological propaganda stuff that Disney Star Wars on TV has. Again, there's been aspects of certain Disney shows that have been great. Even Rogue One, while I love it less than I used to, still holds up in my opinion as at least the single best Disney Star Wars property, if nothing else. All in all, I'm not saying Disney can't do Star Wars. I'm saying that 9 times out of 10, they shouldn't do Star Wars. And especially if you're going to be taking a beloved legacy character like Obi-Wan and putting him in a position that can muddy up the original source material and all the established canon so far. Ewan McGregor is making Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 more likely. The loudest voice championing Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 is Ewan McGregor. The actor has repeatedly responded to questions about his future with hopeful optimism, leaving no doubt at his willingness for another trip to the Star Wars galaxy far, far away. During a convention appearance, McGregor said he believed Lucasfilm was biding its time before greenlighting a second season, seemingly confident an announcement would come. Speaking at Disney Studio Awards, McGregor has now once again reaffirmed his desire for Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2, this time by saying, "I was so happy to do it again and so happy to work with Hayden again, and I hope we get the chance to do it again." That's a lot of agains in one sentence. Maybe throw in like a once more or something like that. Actors publicly angling for future seasons of TV shows is nothing new, but when the actor is Ewan McGregor, the words carry far more weight. Ewan McGregor's Hollywood career did not require him to make a Star Wars comeback, and the actor's consistent body of work over the past 20 years enshrines McGregor among the industry's biggest names, acclaimed by critics and recognized globally. Moreover, getting Ewan McGregor on board was a big hurdle Lucasfilm needed to overcome when making Obi Wan Kenobi Season 1 happen. McGregor's repeated vocal support for Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2 is surely impossible for Lucasfilm to ignore, and presents too tantalizing an opportunity to refuse. But should you do it? I mean, just reading this article brings this particular quote to mind.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.
It really doesn't need to happen, and it also really shouldn't happen. There is such a thing as too much of a good thing, considering Obi Wan Kenobi wasn't even a good thing, and that's not Ewan McGregor's fault. He didn't write the show or anything like that. I love Ewan McGregor as Obi Wan Kenobi. I think he really does embody the original Alec Guinness performance, but in a younger fashion, and we saw everything from Phantom Menace up through Revenge of the Sith, a growing Obi-Wan Kenobi that eventually takes us to the character from the original trilogy. I do love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. I don't love bad Star Wars shows, movies, games, whatever, and Ewan McGregor alone is not enough to save that. I get he loves the character, I get he wants to come back and keep doing it, but it needs more than just that. Will Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 2 actually happen? Although no official confirmation of Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2 has materialized, Ewan McGregor's repeated interest provides some crucial insight. McGregor's comments suggest the actor has not been informed either way whether Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2 is planned, but his optimism strongly implies Lucasfilm has not explicitly closed the door. Curiously, McGregor's stance, intentionally or otherwise, also sends the very strong message that any opposition to Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2 is not coming from his side. That places all the renewal onus upon Lucasfilm and Disney, and that makes the all-important eventual greenlight even more probable. Well, considering the absolute backlash that was received for the Obi Wan Kenobi Season 1, it probably won't happen, at least for a while. They're going to need to get a bit more positive Star Wars stuff under their belt first. Andor was a nice start, but I'm sorry, that's a one-off. We've still got things like The Acolyte coming out. There's still Indiana Jones, the fifth Indiana Jones film, which I know isn't Star Wars, but it's still Lucasfilm, it's still Kathleen Kennedy. And I'll be honest, while I do love Jon Favreau, I think that he very often plays ball a bit too much, at least when it comes to Disney, and isn't willing to really go against the grain unless, he knows it's going to be a success. Convincing Disney of that could be tough. Now, will it be easier with Bob Iger back? I don't know who's to say, especially if the rumors of Kathleen Kennedy's retirement after Indiana Jones 5 is finished. These could all be great things, but I think the real question here is Dave Filoni. Even if Kathleen Kennedy leaves, Dave Filoni has gotten a bit mad with power. He's got George Lucas syndrome going on, where he's a great idea guy, but unless you rein him in, things just go from bad to worse. I mean, look, everyone's talked mad trash on the prequels, on Return of the Jedi. At the end of the day, I love those movies. Some of them aren't good. Like I said, Attack of the Clones. Some of them are mostly good, but have some bad things in them. For all you Ewok haters out there, I'm an Ewok fan. I love them. Whatever. The point is, Dave Filoni is going that same route, and it has been muddying up the canon. That's not something I like to see. I want my Star Wars nice, clear, and concise. That way we don't have to have these raging internet battles about what Force user is stronger, Rey or Luke or whatever. Like anyone that says Rey, well, you're stupid. We all know it's Luke. I'm sorry that you grew up in the Disney era. This is a real long-winded way of saying we don't need another Obi Wan Kenobi show. Despite how great Ewan McGregor is, we just don't need it, and I don't think the majority of us want it. Not after what we've gotten from Disney the last decade. From a commercial perspective, Disney has no obvious reasons not to push ahead with Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2. They absolutely do. The bias from Screen Rant is palpable. Star Wars has been failing. Solo lost money. Everyone hates the sequel trilogy. Star Wars as a whole, not been the greatest. Hasbro can't even sell Star Wars toys at this point. It's been quite embarrassing. There's still old Last Jedi action figures that are 6 years old sitting on clearance shelves at Wally World. Star Wars is not exactly in the greatest spot financially, so there absolutely are obvious reasons from a commercial perspective not to push ahead. Disney needs to inspire more confidence in Star Wars fans before it goes full speed ahead with a massive legacy character like Obi Wan, considering what happened only a year ago. The debut season's premiere performed strongly, becoming the most watched launch for any Disney Star Wars TV show, and despite viewership drop off across 6 episodes because it sucked, the Obi Wan Kenobi finale easily outdid the Book of Boba Fett because it also sucked via Samba TV. Although ultimately emerging on the losing side, Obi Wan Kenobi also competed strongly in direct competition with the streaming behemoth that was Netflix's Stranger Things. With viewership figures to build on, Ewan McGregor's growing enthusiasm to return gradually making Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2 a matter of when rather than if. Well, look, I don't want Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2. I don't know a lot of folks that do. If you do, by all means, let me know in the comments below. Maybe you can convince me. Maybe you can explain to me why I'm wrong, why Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2 could work, but I'm tired of, I don't even want to say I'm tired of Disney Star Wars, because as a Star Wars fan, I don't want to see it die. I definitely do want to see it take a break. Star Wars used to be special. It used to be an event. When a Star Wars movie came out, it was a big deal. But now, we're inundated with Star Wars media. We have video games, TV shows coming out all the time. I'm sure the movies will come back when Disney realizes, what they need to do, if that ever happens. I want a nice break. Let people fall back in love with Star Wars. I mean, heck, the prequel trilogy was hated for years by most. Not me, I've been a prequel apologist my life. But anyway, was hated for years, and now it's celebrated as misunderstood and amazing, and the sequel trilogy is hated. Well, I don't think I will ever fall into the trap of growing nostalgic for the sequel trilogy. That could even happen as time goes on. Maybe give Star Wars a rest and let love for it rebuild. Treat it like taking a break. It's not a breakup, but taking a break from a relationship. And if anyone needs a break, it's Obi Wan Kenobi, because he did not deserve what happened to him in his own show. But that's just my opinion. Let me know yours in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel and check out the back catalog. I've got other videos covering Star Wars news, as well as other nerdy things like Magic the Gathering, video games, anime, you name it. You can find it here in the Nerdosphere. But until next time, this has been Words of Paradise.